Drops on roses and whiskers on kittens.
Merry Christmas and welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast Festivus series. All month long, we're celebrating your favorite holiday films. Movies like Black Christmas, the 2019 remake, Silent Night, the Silent Night Deadly remake, Jack Frost, the Shannon Elizabeth version, and more. Tune in all December long as we revisit these Christmas classics.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I am Ryan from coldsploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
Going pretty well. We are coming at you remotely yet again. Hopefully, towards the end of our remote sessions as the coronavirus vaccine gets distributed. And we are probably going to be blanketed with snow pretty soon as well in our region. We're going to get about half a foot, possibly a foot. And perfect time for that, because we're in the midst of our Festivus series for 2020. And we've covered a few different movies on the podcast so far this year. We did Silent Night, or the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night. We've done the Black Christmas remake from 2019.
And now for the fun part. The fun half.
The one that
isn't the one that's not horror related.
Yeah, exactly. The one that shies away from the horror genre. While still having a little bit of horrorness to it. I actually have a Fright Rag shirt with a design from this movie. So it is in the wheelhouse of horror fans for cinema. And I'm talking about the 1988 rendition, I should say, of Christmas Carol, Bill Murray's Scrooged. So, to start things off, you had not seen Scrooged, and that was kind of a surprise to me. I figured that this would be one of those films that you had seen previously and knew all about.
Yeah, being, a nice big Bill Murray fan, but I guess because it's Christmas related, and let alone a Christmas Carol related, I stayed away from it.
Well, and
I'm not a fan of the Christmas Carol story.
And not only, being a Bill Murray fan, but I'm just surprised, because you're fairly
Richard
big...
Donner film fan?
Well, Richard Donner, you're a fairly big 80s comedy fan in general. And so I was, it just caught me by surprise that,
Well, I can't honestly say that I've ever seen this until yesterday pop up on TV.
It's not as common as some of the other films that you might think of for Christmas time, but I will say that I've seen AMC show it quite a bit in the past. It's just one of those films that AMC picks up, but you're not going to find it on Freeform as part of their 25
What about
days
Turner Classic with Ben Mankiewicz? Hi, folks. Ben Mankiewicz here.
I don't know. Is he a little too high class, highbrow for
No,
Scrooge?
too busy playing the crap that is It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, but I will say that even this year I've seen AMC play it. I think that's pretty much the only channel that really gets play on.
TBS isn't allowed to play anything other than A Christmas Story these days.
That's right.
That's it.
Anyway, I've seen Scrooged a couple times, and it's not one of those movies that I come back to every year. Though revisiting it is, I really enjoy it for what it is. It sits in a very, very unique place of being sort of a metacommentary on A Christmas Carol, and also being one of I would say the '80s Bill Murray, one of his finer moments in cinema at that time.
Well, to be fair, in this one, he is literally playing Peter Venkman.
Pretty much, yeah.
If he was a TV channel exec, he got promoted from doing his public syndicated X-File show to run the network.
Yeah, he's definitely doing one of those 80s Bill Murray shticks of being sort of the asshole character, over the top antics, and
a downright bastard. But he's got that charisma that makes him, you'd be like, this guy's a bastard, but just something about him.
Yeah, especially in the beginning of the film, because obviously right away when you meet him, you know that he is an asshole. He's a giant asshole. He's in that entire boardroom scene. He's an asshole. Yet he's not one of those executives that is very uptight and verklempt. He is at least he has a sarcastic side. He has a humorous side. And that's kind of like at odds with what you might see in some of these other films, or even in A Christmas Carol, where Ebenezer Scrooge is played very, very straight, very, very serious. And that's not the character that Bill Murray represents with Frank in this movie. He is, he's an asshole.
He's still a miser, but he's young and virulent compared to like usually what you get for Scrooge, just being like, oh, I'm just an old miser.
Yeah. I definitely find that interesting that the film went in that direction where, Bill Murray's character is not Ebenezer Scrooge. He is. I think they made it clear to make that difference in this movie because it's more, like I said, it's more of a meta commentary on A Christmas Carol rather than a straight adaptation of it. There's, they recognize that A Christmas Carol is its own fictional tale, and they're actually putting on a version of A Christmas Carol in the film as well. So it's clear that they're not going for exactly A Christmas Carol. And yet, the beats and tone of this movie often come straight back to A Christmas Carol, and it's, a meta commentary and also an adaptation. It kind of sits in a weird limbo between the two. Should we take a break real quick because we're already kind of getting into the nitty gritty of the film, and we normally just do a little introduction before we get into that whole thing. So maybe we'll stop, we'll pause, and we'll talk about the beer that we have on the show today. And I don't even know if we didn't talk about this, but do you have a beer for the show today? I should ask.
Yes, it's called Miller Lite. Brought to you by
Exotic. Have we had that before?
No, it's brought to you by the now combined forces of Miller Coors. It's delightful.
You know what? You're in luck because I'm prepared today. I actually have something new that we haven't covered on here. Well, not new for me, but new for the show. I've had this for a week now. I picked up, and I've been on the lookout for this for a while. I think I even saw it last year, and I never got to it. But I've got Sloop's No Santa Nipa on the show today. I don't know if anybody follows Sloop. They're from New York State, downstate for us. And they generally tend to do IPAs. I really have not seen very many other types of beers from them. I think they do a couple others. But for the most part, they're always doing IPAs. Specifically NIPAs as well. That's really been their go-to for the most recent period of time. They also have a line of no beers, with a no in parentheses. And I was looking for the No Pumpkin IPA, which was out for the fall. Never got around to finding that one. And now they also have the No Santa. And both of them are meant to do the same type of thing. Signal that they're not the really seasonal type of beverage that you're accustomed to for either the fall or the winter. So in the fall, obviously, you're getting a lot of pumpkin stuff. And so the No Pumpkin IPA was meant to be a disclaimer that no, you're not getting pumpkin in this beer. It's a straight up IPA. The same is true of the No Santa NIPA. It is no frills, no candy cane flavors, no, gimmicky stouts. Straight up NIPA. So as Martin and I have talked about previously, we may have said it on the show. I can't remember, but
wait a second.
What?
No gimmick NIPA? Isn't a NIPA a gimmick in of itself?
In the name, I think, right? No, yeah. I think we've talked about this on the show before. Or if not, we've talked about it in person. That NIPAs, I think NIPAs are great. I love to drink NIPAs, but they tend to be overwhelmingly samey. No matter which NIPA you get, if you're drinking a NIPA, you know exactly what you're going to get, and it's going to be citrusy. It's going to be possibly like a grapefruit tasty, tropically flavored,
hazy.
Yep, hazy. And that's pretty much what you get with the No Santa NIPA. Like I said, with NIPAs, I really do think that for the a taster that's not super discerning like me, you really have to have, if you want to taste the difference between a NIPA, you really got to have them back to back where you take a sip of one and then a sip of the other and you're like, okay, I can taste that difference in the hop there a little bit. And maybe that's just me talking that I don't have a sophisticated palate, but I do tend to find that they all kind of turn together into one flavor in my mind. And it's very hard for me to review a NIPA in any meaningful way because I basically just say, yeah, it's pretty hoppy. It's got a tropical flavor. And, that's that. Now, I recognize that certain NIPAs they do have distinctive flavors. Some do. Sometimes you get more grapefruit. Sometimes you get a little bit of a different hop in there. But off the top of my head, I can't say with any certainty what exactly No Santa NIPA has that's like a lot different from another NIPA. I can say, however, that it's very smooth. It's tasty. It's sessionable and drinkable, even though I think it's on the higher end for alcohol percentage. 6.5. So, it's getting up there for a single IPA. And I just think that it is a really good standout NIPA. It tastes great, but it has the same flavors that you would expect from any other NIPA. So I don't know if that's a glowing review or not for Sloop's No Santa NIPA. In my mind, I like it a lot, and yet it's another NIPA. Did I do a good job describing that to you? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
I can taste it.
You got it. When I said it's another NIPA, that just brings the
honestly,
flavors.
to be honest with you, when it comes to a NIPA, at least for me to be like an above average one, whatever like fruits and hop like profile you're going for, it better fucking stand out. Right. So if you're just coming in like new NIPA with citrus, so it's like what kind of citrus? Orange, tangerines, pineapple. Like if you're not like highlighting specific, like being hyper specific now, it may be good. Like okay, but it's not like a good NIPA then. Same thing with like the hops. Like if you're not like specific, pointing out the different hop profiles that you should be getting, shame on you. Because at this point now, it's been 5 years of this now, which doesn't seem like a long time, but it's been like a lifetime in like the world of NIPAs because they've just been, Sloop's one of them. They got like 300 different NIPAs. And if you sat down and were told to fucking drink each one, kind of discern different things from them, you'd be probably sitting there scratching your head for a long time.
Mm.
You know, like I said, I'm like you. I love them. They're because they're like, at this point, like when it comes to like IPAs, I like them. But do I ever like a standard IPA, Ryan? Do you now like sit down and be like, man, that's something I gotta have?
No, it's not. I mean,
Doesn't do too much because it's just
Yeah. If it's there,
very hot forward. Same thing with like double IPAs. Like double IPAs, no, I like them. They kind of make me cringe though. It's like, oh god, I'm gonna have a double IPA. It's gonna be good, but you're gonna be sitting there like you would like with like an imperial stout, like know that you're in for a taxing effort.
So that's that. No Santa Nipa. I would search for it. It's good. I really enjoy it. It's also expensive. So keep that in mind.
Miserly is not within Sloop's vocabulary.
That's right. That's a good tie-in to Scrooged here. And A Christmas Carol. You can't be miserly and swing for Sloop. All right, so talking about Scrooged here, I think it's easiest to start out by discussing the ghosts that are in this movie, because the film follows a lot of the same beats from A Christmas Carol. It has all of the ghostly visitations. It basically is a metacommentary on A Christmas Carol, and yet it also follows A Christmas Carol pretty much to a T, besides the fact that it's not Ebenezer Scrooge in the leading role. It's Bill Murray playing Frank Cross. So Frank Cross is this TV executive working at a local, not local, but a cable station that's, I think, meant to be a stand-in for ABC, right? IBC is their affiliate name. And
I would say more NBC.
Yeah, maybe possibly NBC. It's kind of got like that family-friendly, like, you won't want to miss this. This is NBC primetime. Because that was kind of, especially like in the 80s and 90s, that was kind of what NBC was going for, right? Even more so than CBS, which was more about like adults, like not adult, but I mean older people channel programming. NBC was more like family oriented, I feel like, for prime time. And I mean, I'm not really.
I was gonna say CBS doesn't even do anything these days. They just, how about another NCIS?
How about a procedural? We haven't seen enough of those. What do you think about what city haven't we done yet? Let's do something in
NCIS Loop Lubbock, Texas.
That's not really that far from the truth, to be honest with you, because you're starting to get really ridiculous city procedurals that are coming out. They're just like, we can't do another New York, we can't do another LA. We've got to do something else. But yeah, I think this IBC, you're right, is probably a stand-in for NBC. And as we pick up within Scrooged, we see the initial broadcasting that they have for Christmas Eve, which is a big time for cable, I guess, in the 80s. For now, it's really not. We had talked about this before, but most channels are not programming for Christmas Eve anymore. That's like a dated thing of the past. You don't,
huddle around the TV like, come on, kids. After, nice
Christmas
family
or something.
Christmas Eve dinner and a little party. Gather around the old television. Let's see what they got planned for us.
Yeah, that's not really a thing anymore. Unless you're popping on like one of the movie reruns, like Christmas Vacation or A Christmas Story for Christmas Eve programming.
That's not even Christmas. That's not even the Christmas Eve program. That's Christmas Day. They air that on TBS.
Well, it starts at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Because that's always when I watch it ritualistically, watching it on Christmas Eve. But other than if you were planning programming for Christmas Eve now, you would certainly have to compete with the 24 Hours of A Christmas Carol.
Actually, if anything, when it comes to Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, NBA basketball is a big thing, especially on Christmas Day. Mm-hmm. They have a fuck ton of games now,
and hockey, and the open air hockey.
That's for New Year's Day. That's the Winter Classic.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. Yep, that's the Winter Classic. That's right. It's New Year's. I'm getting my holidays confused now on what I watch.
Close enough.
But yeah,
it's only a week away.
Yeah, NBA is correct. Yeah, that's a big thing. So yeah, they're not really programming a lot for Christmas. But you know what? In Scrooged, that's IBC's job. They're actually making it part of their catalog to be the Christmas station. They even have a new slogan. It says "You'll love it," and the "you'll" as in "you'll log." Very punny. Very witty. I'm sure Bill Murray's character came up with that one. Loved it. You'll love it. But when we meet Bill Murray's character, the distinction here is that unlike Ebenezer Scrooge, Bill Murray's character, Frank, he's not Scrooge, by the way, he's Frank. His character is not super unlikable in the sense that he has no personality. He's not as dim as Scrooge is when we first meet him. Instead, he's more of just a wry asshole. And that's his whole shtick in this.
Peter Venkman, if he actually was successful.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. His whole shtick is to be, he's funny, he's sarcastic, but also a total dick to pretty much everybody at the studio. And it is Venkman if he was not fighting ghosts. But fighting TV channel producers.
I was gonna say, it's because he turned that public syndicated, show about psychics and stuff into
a real career.
Became the head of the channel.
Absolutely. So we see the first thing that we see is a trailer for an action-packed Christmas Eve movie special that is going to be airing, which has a great soundtrack from none other than Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman is Danny Elfman. You know it. You just, whenever you hear it, you're like, yeah, that's a fucking Danny Elfman soundtrack.
Do you think he just has he takes basically the same thing and just kind of I'll move a note here, move a note there.
Well, this soundtrack in particular is very reminiscent of A Nightmare Before Christmas. Very reminiscent. That opening score, you could transplant that into A Nightmare Before Christmas and it wouldn't really feel out of place at all. Or vice versa. Put a Nightmare Before Christmas song into Scrooge, probably wouldn't notice. So yeah, I mean, in this case, I think he was taking a lot of the same beats in. It was also probably written around the same time because A Nightmare Before Christmas was in production for quite a while before it actually ended up being released. And if you want to know more about that production, watch the Holiday Movies That Made Us on Netflix, where they go into detail about A Nightmare Before Christmas. But yeah, I definitely think that Danny Elfman was using a lot of the same elements to his scores here, and it's
the same thing too. Beetlejuice came out in '88 as well. So
yep, and it's similar. I would say not as similar to this film as A Nightmare Before Christmas is. I mean, they really are extremely similar. And I love the score, to be honest with you, but it's it immediately you're like, that's Danny Elfman. You don't need any more information. So we get a bunch of trailers at the beginning of this movie, but the one that they're really working on, the one that's the piece de resistance for IBC, is their live special Scrooge. They're going to be putting that on Christmas Eve, and Bill Murray's character Frank he's personally responsible for this production, and he's looking for it to be a little bit more. At least the trailer, a little bit more action-packed, a little bit more pulling the viewer in. So he's got a ridiculous, almost Mondo trailer for Scrooge that really has no business advertising the special that it's going to be, which is a great great moment. And not only that, but right away you get that reference to some of the people that are in the Scrooge special, which looks to be a star-studded cast. I mean, you've even got Mary Lou Retton as Tiny Tim.
Seeing her doing the fucking like handsprings and shit.
Basically springboarding off. And Merry Christmas, everyone. I really am curious. I wish we got to see that special a little bit more, because I'm curious, how she's playing Tiny Tim in this special. What kind of disability does Tiny Tim have in this one, where he's now become a professional gymnast at the end?
No, because it's kind of like, I can like, just, it would have been funny to see her limping around all show, only for her, like, at the end to be like, fuck, doing the back handsprings and
somersaults and twists, and whatever other gymnast vocabulary that you can think of. That's what she's doing in the Scrooge production. But anyway,
a nice rap score and ladies with their nipples showing. Their nipples are showing.
I actually saw this on TV as well after we watched the movie itself, and I was curious how they were going to do that nipple sequence, and it was actually pretty tasteful. They just don't show that front-on view of the woman, because in this film you actually get to see like the little areola peeking out, and then
the most offensive part of the human body.
That's right, exactly. Like, you can have literally all the entire rest of the breast out, but to show that areola and nipple,
that's how you know it's a boob instead of just a hanging sack of flesh.
It's a lump. It's a tumor. It could be anything until you show the areola and nipple. No one's titillated by a tumor. That could have been another IBC slogan.
Don't be titillated by a tumor.
Yeah. No one's titillated by a tumor. So anyway, we've got Bill Murray playing Frank. He's the Scrooge character stand-in. Pretty clearly from the beginning of the film, he makes it known that he's really not into A Christmas Carol at all. He doesn't appreciate it. And so, of course, because he's such an asshole, he's such a dick, and he fires Bobcat Goldthwaite on Christmas Eve, he gets a visit from the ghosts of Christmas past, future, and present.
I just like, though, within a day, though, Bobcat Goldthwaite's life just went, from being Bobcat into just being, wife left me, and I'm drunk all the time now, and every passing car drives through a puddle that gets me.
Yeah, the film kind of goes, obviously its main focus is Frank, but on occasion it cuts back to Bobcat Goldthwaite in various elements of, going through a major depression or a psychiatric mental illness. He starts out, after he gets fired, he's like, she don't mind, right? And then
maybe he's actually schizophrenic, and the fact that his health care was tied to his job, he's like, I can't afford my meds no more, and
yeah, pretty much. And then he goes from just being like, it's all right, we'll be all right, to homicidal with a shotgun later on in the film. And the film keeps cutting back to him like throughout in his decline. So obviously we know that Frank is the one that's going to be our Scrooge stand-in for visitation. He's a total asshole. And so he initially gets a visit from
his friend,
the ghost of his mentor from TV production,
former head of IBC.
That's right. And that's a nice, I like that callback to Marley from, the original Christmas Carol, because it's pretty much meant to be the same idea. And actually the way that the ghost is portrayed here is almost like a American Werewolf in London style, with the zombie type ghost that appears. Mm-hmm. And in this case, the film plays it up kind of intentionally comedically gruesome, and that Bill Murray pulls out his gun and shoots him like 4 times while he's taking a drink, and it all runs out of his stomach. So there's like kind of there's a cheesy, intentionally goofy approach to the horror element of a Christmas Carol that Scrooge puts on. And that kind of comes up throughout the film, especially with the ghost of Christmas Future. So it's kind of interesting to see how that plays out. Obviously, we know Richard Donner has been affiliated with some harder films than Scrooged, Lethal Weapon being one of them, which we've covered in a previous podcast episode. But I like the way that the ghosts are portrayed, that follows A Christmas Carol and yet does its own thing a little bit. It's got its own unique twist on the characters, because this is, as we said, it's a meta film, but also a true rendition of A Christmas Carol as well. It pretty much goes through the motions exactly like A Christmas Carol. So I'm questioning, what is your favorite ghost of the film? Which one do you like the most?
I like the Ghost of Christmas Past.
Okay.
Nice, sleazy New York cabbie. Especially that nice cabbie. Kind of like in Home Alone, when Kevin's running around New York City and he's like, "Watch it, kid!" It's kind of like what this guy's like. I love it.
Kind of, yep. Either that or sort of also like the cabbie that's in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles as well. Or that guy, Doobie, that chauffeurs them to their initial hotel. It's kind of like that as well. And David Johansen, who plays the cabbie, is better known as part of the punk scene for of the time for New York.
New York Dolls.
Yeah. He does a pretty good job here, as a crazy cab driver, really leaning into the role. I think he does a good job. I guess I would say it's probably pretty obvious which one mine is, but I'm going to go with the Ghost of Christmas Future simply because of that element of Bill Murray opening his cloak and seeing all of the souls that are kind of within that cloak. It's a nice little practical effect moment. And I also like, too, that it incorporates the television part of Frank's, his haunting. It incorporates television in there because that's always been a big part of his life, as we see from the Ghost of Christmas Past. And then we know of his TV production, and the Ghost of Christmas Past also shows us the dog that he used to play when he was on TV for a little while before he got into the executive role. And so the Ghost of Christmas Future has that TV as part of its view into the future, which I thought was really clever. It's a good remix on the actual Ghost of Christmas Future.
The best part about the Ghost of Christmas Past is just the simple fact that in their late 60s and early 70s, fucking Bill Murray's walking around with the mullet of all time. Slicked. Beautiful. I love the fact they didn't change his hair or anything. While everyone else is doing these nice, roll looks and stuff, he's still got that fucking mullet.
It is a great mullet. It really is. And it's, it's ironically in style now. That ironic mullet is coming back in style, or so I'm told.
It's great. And then nice Christmas party, get to see, get to see someone doing photocopies of their butts and passing it out as a Christmas gift.
Bill Murray calling his past self an idiot for not queuing in on that flirtation.
Yeah. Which is great. It is funny, though, too. He's like, I'm such a fucking idiot. Because then the next moment you get to, he gets to meet Karen Allen. I guess
exactly.
I guess the so-called love of your life, but, I don't know.
Right, yeah. He's it's kind of funny too. Yeah, how he treats Karen, because it's almost as though Karen is like, yes, his love, but also I don't know, he just doesn't seem super interested in her. It's more of like a fallback for him. Because even at the end of the movie, when he's had his epiphany, and he's in the TV production, and kind of Bill Murray's going throughout his seemingly ad-libbed speech, he goes right from making out with a dancer,
just to show like it means nothing to me.
Exactly. And Karen's right there, and then he gets back with Karen. It's kind of like, oh, all right.
Plus, it just seems so weird too, just because. I mean, I know it's the movies. I'm not saying, excuse me, I'm not saying Bill Murray and Karen Allen have bad chemistry. They don't, but it does seem weird that, somebody who is pretty narcissistic, would end up with somebody who's like, I take care of the less fortunate.
Right, exactly. Doesn't really seem like a good match for them. The other thing about Christmas Past that's pretty great is that whole sequence with Bill Murray and his father when he's very young, like 8 years old, and on Christmas Eve his father brings him home 5 pounds of veal, and Bill Murray's not satisfied.
I was gonna say, who's his father, Ryan?
His father is Brian Doyle Murray, who we have a love affair for on this show. Always have liked Brian Doyle Murray. But that's a great moment, because even in 1988, Bill Murray comments...
And it is one of the best lines when, because the Cappy's like, you're going to have waterworks to see in this memory. And then after Bill Murray's standing there crying, he's like, see, I told you, waterworks. He's like, it's not about the moment. That was a really thoughtful gift. You know how much that veal cost?
I know. And now... veal's probably even more expensive than that for five pounds of veal.
Pounds? Jesus.
That's quite a bit of veal. And I'm not a huge fan of veal, but I'd take it. Still could use it. But that's probably one of the best moments of the Christmas Past and the film itself, I think. Just thinking about that veal and what he could have done with it. So no love for Ghost of Christmas Present, huh, Carol Kane?
No, I think she's very good too. Ghost of Christmas Future is the one that I was bored with, because you could tell that by the time that shows up, it's like, there's only 20 minutes left in the film, and it's like, get that going, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's kind of rushed a little bit at the end there.
But no, Carol Kane's good. I like the whole getting to see that even in the 80s, families were still gathered around playing Trivial Pursuit and sucking balls at it. I felt Bill Murray's pain sitting there when what was the name of the ship on Gilligan's Island? The Trout. They're Bill Murray's just it's the.
So you're offended. You're offended too.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt his pain greatly.
I agree. If you're going to play Trivia Pursuit, make sure you're good at it. Because if you're not, your partners are going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
I think
it's created such great moments as your father screaming at the top of his lungs, Janet Jackson.
I think Carol Kane does a pretty good job as the Ghost of Christmas Present as well. I think her
nice Glenda the Good Witch from Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of what they were going for, and they went a lot of a very different way than the a Christmas Carol, Ghost of Christmas Present. It's they definitely took that on themselves to do something different, which I thought was interesting, and also that she's somewhat abusive throughout.
Yeah, that's funny. I think that slapstick's really good.
Yeah, I like that. But other than that, I think that the present part of it is not as interesting within the film itself. I think the past does the most amount of work for Scrooged, because you need that. You need that like context of why should we care about Frank at all? You know, he's been a dick, and we see all of this stuff that he's been doing to his secretary and coworkers,
family.
So you need that past context to say like, why should we care about him at all?
And then we see his coworkers and family, like what's going on in their lives that he's not seeing because he's a piece of shit.
Yep.
You get that great line from his brother when he's like, I got him a framed picture and stuff, And he's like, well, why do you invite him every year, if he's never comes because he's so busy with work? And he's like, oh, he's my brother. It's like, oh, damn you, Great.
So the film has some really good moments. We talked about a lot of them. Any others that we didn't talk of that you can think of that were, kind of stand out? This film it's more of a, it's kind of a wry comedy to it. It doesn't have like a lot of laugh out loud funny moments, but it's kind of in the wheelhouse of Bill Murray's other 80s comedies that he would do. Probably one of his better 80s comedies, to be honest with you.
I would say I love the part where he's responsible, he inadvertently has an old woman killed because they changed the ad from the lighthearted, like it's gonna be a Scrooge Christmas, to, drugs, violent street crime, terrorism. You see a plane blow up and it's like, this Christmas, Scrooged. And that ad struck such fear into the hearts of one old woman, it killed her. And when his secretary is trying to say, like, they want to comment, and he's like, good, that'll give us ratings. He's saying offhand, and she goes, it'll be like, and he's like, no. And he's like, we're sorry that, we take this very seriously.
The 80s must have been really soft, because not only does that lady die from this ad, but also all of the other board members coming out of that meeting are like sweating profusely about the ad, and some are like coughing into their hankies like they're going to vomit from it. These people are soft.
Gordon Gekko would not approve of these people being on a fucking, board of a television network. It's like, oh,
absolutely.
There's hip hop, and booty shaking.
One of my favorite moments is like a really small one where Bill Murray is, he's on his way home, or I'm sorry, not even on his way home. He's going to the restaurant, and he's getting a taxi cab, and an old lady has hailed it, and she's got a bunch of packages.
That's the same old lady that dies too.
Yeah, that's a great moment where he just grabs that. You know what? Takes that taxi cab and hightails it out of there.
Is there a redemption arc, for that moment? Like, or is that like an infinite, and like, like no matter what you do after that, you could have like cure AIDS, and you get up to heaven, St. Peter's stuck. No, you're not getting in, bud.
That was like the end all be all. You can't steal a cab and kill an old lady and then expect to get into heaven.
Yeah, no matter, like there's no recovery from that.
I don't know. I guess
because he does it so nonchalantly too. It's great. Like, oh hey, you dropped something.
Yeah.
Like sitting there looking, he just gets in and like waves to her like, bye, sucker.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the reasons why I like it is it's such a fast paced scene. It just happens. There's not a lot of cuts or anything like that. It just kind of happens. And you don't even it's almost like a beat where you're just like, what just happened? It's a great moment. What did you think of the end of the film with Bill Murray's like takeover of the studio on Christmas Eve as they're in the live production of Scrooge, and he kind of comes in and starts speaking directly to the camera, which is directly to the audience, which is both people watching on TV and us. What did you think about that? The whole speech that he gives.
It's fine.
I think it's fine. I think it's a little rambling. To be honest with you, and that's where I get that ad-libbed feel from, is that it sort of almost feels like Bill Murray is searching for words in that scene, and it kind of went on without edits for too long.
Yeah, probably. They probably let him just, improv and go. My only problem is like the premise is, even by that point in the 80s, kind of, cliche, like, here, let me, you know what, we were going to do this, but no, we're not doing that. This is what we're going to do now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then again, that's the same thing though with like a Christmas, Christmas Carol, Scrooge, like
he kind of goes on that same rant, except I just felt like in this case, Bill Murray was kind of searching for words at some points. Like it was, it was definitely seemed like it was ad-libbed, and then it was almost, there were no cuts to it. They just kind of let it go as is. One thing we didn't talk about is the Tiny Tim stand-in. It's actually his secretary's son, who throughout the film we learn has not talked yet. And so he's been going to doctor's offices, and she's basically living in almost poverty level because he doesn't pay enough at work, and she doesn't get a bonus. There's a big sequence where Bill Murray's doing his Christmas gifts and giving people either bath towels or a VCR. And he asks her to put herself down for a bath towel.
Listen, it may seem wrong, but it's not. The older you get, the more you appreciate things like that. Because it's shit you need, but you're not going to buy. Like, oh, fuck, I could use a new frying pan. I don't want to buy a frying pan. Long comes Christmas, and someone's like, I bought this guy a frying pan because I know he needs a frying pan. And you're just like, this is good. This is good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Maybe most people are not like, bath towel is a nice gift. But for a lot of people, gifts are best when they're things that you would not want to buy yourself. Because guess what?
You dodged a bullet.
Exactly. Since someone took care of it, you're free to save that money and buy something you really wanted to buy.
Because, like, I need I want to get a new shower curtain. I was at Target. It was like $30. I'm not buying a new fucking shower curtain. But if somebody got me one for Christmas, I'd be like, wow, thank you. I definitely need that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. A bath towel is not a terrible gift. But
they're not cheap anymore either, for God's sakes, All
right. But what is a terrible gift is not getting a bonus for Christmas. And that's basically what Bill Murray makes clear to his secretary. And obviously they're struggling, and that's part of the Ghost of Christmas Present, is supposed to show Bill Murray what his secretary is going through when he doesn't pay her enough money. So what did you think of the Tiny Tim stand-in, which is that the kid who doesn't talk, and then eventually on Christmas Eve, he utters the Tiny Tim words of legend. God bless us, everyone.
He's all right. I mean, he doesn't, he's, for a child actor, he's pretty good. Fine,
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I think the point you're missing is that Bill Murray should have been telling his secretary to, be a little bit more responsible. Having like 5 kids as a single mother, that's responsibility. Why did her husband get shot and killed a couple of years ago? You should have thought about that before, you lived in the neighborhood you did. Come on now. He was right. He didn't say those things, but those are things he probably would have said.
If they definitely didn't want him to have a redemption arc, then yeah, they could have had him say that. A developmentally disabled child, you shouldn't have had them.
It would have been great. He was like, here, what'd you get? I gave you some bootstraps. Pull yourself up. Come on. I did it. God damn it! I went from making copies and being like the copy boy, and then I was fucking Barney the dog, and now look at me, executive. It was all my hard work. God damn it.
Anything else that we missed that we didn't talk about so far? Anything you can think of that we didn't cover that you wanted to?
What'd you think of Bryce, the guy that's trying to get Bill Murray's job?
Oh yeah, that guy. John Glover plays him, and I thought he was a great addition because he's like sort of the opposite of Bill Murray. Even when he's in his role as an executive, he's still kind of got like a, I don't know, happy-go-lucky attitude to him, I guess. And he sort of plays that foil.
I love the part where he's happy-go-lucky, but he's also just like Bill Murray,
Yeah, he can be. Yeah,
he's conniving and wants to get the spotlight because he was brought in as a consultant. But I just love it. Like, all right, guys, go to lunch. Go take your lunch. And then Bill Murray's like, I say when we go to lunch. Like, oh, you want me to call him back? Call him back? Okay, no, I shouldn't call him lunch. Call him back now. Call him back now. And, you can call him to lunch. You want to go to lunch? I love that part. That part's freaking funny.
Yeah, I like the guy. I think he's pretty funny. Especially during that, he's kind of like that foil where Bill Murray shows up and we're like, there, Frank, we're looking for you. Where have you been, Frank? We're looking for you. He's like, oh, do you want to call it? Are you mad that I called lunch? Did you want to call it yourself? You can call it. Everybody, come back. Frank's got something to say. Yeah, it was pretty funny, to be honest with you. I like Bryce.
What'd you think of the Lumpy nickname? Did you like that? That wasn't,
It's a way to try to add some sort of chemistry, which I don't know that Bill Murray and Karen Allen really have in that. So the nickname is sort of that, stand in for any other actual romantic interest that the audience is supposed to get from them. Because I don't think I just don't really think they have a lot of chemistry on scene.
No. And you can tell they're trying to go for like the Sigourney Weaver feel from like Ghostbusters between the two of them. Doesn't work as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think,
it was fun though getting to see how he became Lumpy in the past part when he's just coming out of the building and, cracks his head,
Yep. All right, so I guess we should give Scrooge a rating. And I got to think of a scale because I don't know if I have one. I guess on a scale of 0 to 10 homicidal Bobcat Goldthwaites, what would you give Scrooge?
It would have been wrong if you didn't either go with something doing with Bobcat Goldthwaite or 5 pounds of veal.
That's right. Yeah, I could have done 5 pounds of veal as well.
I'll give it an 8. I really like this movie. I'm kind of shocked that it's been this long to not see it because I like Bill Murray movies. I like Bill Murray. I like Richard Donner's films for the most part. Kind of surprised this always flew under the radar. Might be just because it's a Christmas movie and they're not anything that I go out of my way to see. You're right. It is a wry comedy. It's definitely drier for the most part, but it's great. Bill Murray in this is in great form. Essentially carries the film, just by being Bill Murray. I like the new take on Scrooge. It probably hasn't aged that well because it's hyper 80s now in kind of the premise. But I think it works really well. And that you can kind of, look past. I like I definitely like the Ghost of Christmas Past and Christmas Present. Those bits were real cool. I think maybe if the film was a little longer, they could have, especially like the Ghost of Christmas Future, they could have went a little further than just him being, fucking dead and getting cremated.
Mm-hmm.
They could have done a little bit more to see how his negativity, because we also get to see too, like which we didn't mention, like how his negativity, and then if he gets with, Karen Allen, she turns into a fucking chain smoking, teeth falling out, bitter asshole herself. She basically does the whole like bootstraps thing, when she's sitting down with like afternoon lunch, But it's really funny. I like it. I like, the whole ending is nice too. It, like you said, he does ramble, but it's nice. And I like at the end too when they're at, it starts breaking the song as they're going into the credits. That's nice.
Yeah,
it's nice Christmas film.
Yeah, I would give it an 8 as well. I have liked this film before. I think it's a really fun film. It's got a lot of, like I said, this is sort of like a wry comedy to it. And I do like as well that it plays off of A Christmas Carol, and it does a sort of a commentary on it, but it also has its own way with A Christmas Carol and does its own thing. And I think that's really interesting and something that you don't often get from Christmas Carol films. Most of the time, they're pretty straightforward with how they do A Christmas Carol. Some may be updated for modern times, but for the most part, they try to play it the same way. Scrooge isn't like that. It kind of goes in a different direction. I really think that that's one of its main attractions, especially for people who are just kind of sick of A Christmas Carol. There's so many renditions of A Christmas Carol. You don't need to watch it over and over throughout the Christmas season. So Scrooge kind of helps with that, that fatigue that you get from watching A Christmas Carol. And it's a little bit of a different Christmas film for the holidays as well. It kind of goes well with a Christmas Vacation Scrooged double feature, I would say. So I definitely enjoy it. And while I don't normally watch it every single year, I think that might change for the coming seasons because I really did have fun with it.
Listen, if you can fit Dutch into your fucking schedule of films, you can fit Scrooged in.
True. That's true. I can fit it in. Definitely. All right. So we are going to be back next. Well, it's actually technically going to be this week because we're a little late on this episode. We had some technical difficulties with it. So we're going to get this one up this week and then also have another movie for you the same week just before Christmas. So it's a Christmas buffet for you, all you listeners out there, because the next episode we're going to do Jack Frost, which is technically not a Christmas film, so it's okay if we miss the Christmas holiday, but it certainly is one that you want to check out because first of all, it's a ridiculous film. And no, I'm not talking about the Michael Keaton movie. I'm talking about the 1997 slasher horror film, Jack Frost. And what we like to refer to it as is the film that has Shannon Elizabeth in it.
Oh, does it now?
It does.
Oh.
So that'll be something to look forward to.
What about Michael Keaton?
It doesn't have Michael Keaton. No, I'm sorry. You wish it did. Everybody wishes it did, but it doesn't, unfortunately. But it's a fun, stupid film. I think we'll have a fun time riffing on it for the podcast. So everybody, stay tuned for that. That should be coming at you really soon.
I honestly thought the Michael Keaton Jack Frost came first. I didn't know that.
Jack Frost, the slasher movie, was 1997.
And Jack Frost, the Michael Keaton vehicle, was 98.
Oh. Well, wouldn't you know?
God, that movie poster is fucking dreadful.
Damn.
For both of them. Come on.
Right.
You don't want to know about this guy that wants to be Bruce Springsteen? Just, living the life. And the Jack Frost band.
We'll do that one next year.
We should do Snow Day.
Absolutely. At some point, we will. All right, so we'll be back next time with Jack Frost. Until then, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We're on Twitter at Blood and Black Rum. We have an email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. We are on pretty much every single podcasting app that you can think of. So subscribe to us, leave us a nice review. That always helps us out. And you can donate to us on Patreon at patreon.com/Blood and Black Rum Podcast. Anything that you can donate is super helpful, helps us with hosting fees and stuff like that. So we appreciate anything you can throw our way. Thanks for listening to us in this holiday season and tuning into our Festivus series. And make sure to check back for our last episode on Jack Frost next time.
Take care.